Welcome into another installment of Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there and all of the real ones having a great Memorial Day weekend. On the docket for today's show, opening up the floor, answering all of your questions about this basketball team, which is in a fascinating spot right now, right? Most cap space in the NBA. You have two stars, good coach. Does Philadelphia become a viable destination for some of these stars? Do they make a trade? What are they going to do in the draft with a couple of good selections? Let's run through it all and answer your questions. Jonas Molinari, hopefully I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Do you think that we could get Mikal Bridges? Obviously, we've talked about Bridges a lot here on the show. He is my number one trade target, and honestly, if you were to go through a lot of the other additions that Philadelphia could potentially make this offseason, he might be my number one overall option. The Nets, as we know, have been reluctant to move him because he's a very affordable player, a valuable player for the impact that he has on both sides of the floor, and some of the growth, some of the development that we've seen, but they're in this territory now where they figured out this past year, he's not a star player. He's a really good number two on a championship team. I think he's a really, really good number three, like we saw on that really good Suns team that made it to the NBA Finals and then lost to Giannis a couple of years ago. And the Nets are in a spot here where they don't have good complementary players around Bridges. So if you're relying on him to be your guy, but you're bad, you go nowhere as an organization. Whereas if you bank on the downfall of the Suns after the KD trade, and then you make a deal work to send Bridges elsewhere for a lot of draft picks, you can start that rebuilding process via the draft, stockpile some young players. You look at what an organization like OKC has been able to do, and they're humming because they have talent just all across that roster, and that's with Cason Wallace barely playing in the playoffs. They might move Josh Giddey, but that's the type of path that I would take if I was the Brooklyn Nets. For Philadelphia, it's going to be a hefty asking price here. I think it starts at a couple of first-round picks. You might even make it 3 first-round picks in addition to players. And Philadelphia's draft compensation compared to other teams might make Philadelphia unrealistic as far as a trade destination. But, Chip, I would be very, very aggressive in trying to land Bridges because two-way player can play off ball from Embiid, from Maxey. I think he's a good fit. He's been durable, still young, and the next 2 years, very affordable.
Absolutely. He is right at the top of my list. Just as you said, in terms of players I would like the Sixers to go out and get this offseason, it's just so tough because the Nets really, really value Mikal Bridges a lot higher than the rest of the league does. The asking price is very high for a player that, you said, probably number 3 on a championship team. He's been there one, and they haven't really been able to win games, 50 losses this past season, and they're in a spot right now where, according to reports, they're looking to add pieces to their team. They don't want to give Bridges away. They want to build around him, bring in complementary pieces, and build up that roster, which I don't think is smart. Now, it's tough because the Nets don't own any of their own picks. They traded them all away in the James Harden trade, so a rebuild look for them looks a little bit different, where them being bad doesn't really help them. Now, they do have a lot of other picks. Yeah. And so maybe on the flip side of that, it's like, okay, what's our ceiling with this team? We don't have a lot of our own picks, so maybe we should go out and get other picks because that's where the only way we'll be able to build up this team. Unfortunately, it's not the route they've taken so far. The asking price has just been too high. But if they do fold at some point in the offseason or even at the trade deadline next season, he's on a very affordable contract. He'd be the perfect number 3 next to Maxey and Embiid.
You heard from us. What say you? Would you trade for Mikal Bridges? T for trade, P for pass. Let's hear from all of the legendary subscribers and everybody who's tuned into the show right now down in the comments section. Pat Woolard, what would it take to bring Jimmy Butler home and bring Drew Holiday home as well? Well, Drew Holiday's not going to happen. He re-signed with the Boston Celtics, signed a contract extension. Philadelphia was said to be interested in him before Boston landed him. And we talked about him last offseason. The similar ways that I think about Mikal Bridges, two-way player, character, durability. Obviously, Bridges and Holiday play different positions, but I liked a lot of the same elements with Holiday that I like now with Bridges. And for Holiday, just a great cultural guy, good leader. He's won a championship before. He's sacrificed his role playing alongside Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. He's been a seamless fit on that Boston team, and he's locked up Tyrese Halliburton so far in a couple of really big situations in the Eastern Conference Finals, but not going to happen, unfortunately, because he re-signed with Boston on that extension. As for Jimmy Butler, this is from Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports, their lead NBA insider. The Sixers, of course, have been in the Butler business before. He and Embiid maintained a close relationship, and Butler may have been the all-star whom Morey most often attempted to acquire in Houston. At this juncture, however, league executives are of the mind that Butler will most likely remain with the Heat. I think Jimmy, like Bridges, going to cost multiple first-rounders, and you'd be trading for a player where you're giving up and surrendering multiple first-round picks for an older player looking for a contract extension, cashing in one more time, and he doesn't really care about the regular season, nor does he play all that much. So the fact that you have to do all of that and then pay him an extension, whereas Bridges, more affordable the next 2 years, that's why I'd side with Bridges, but Butler, the dog mentality, the confidence, the ability to thrive when the temperature is heating up, I think it would bring the best out of this team, this organization, Joel Embiid, and he'd be a good compliment next to Tyrese Maxey. But the Heat are still in that window where they're competitive. Why give up Jimmy Butler, who's helped them to 2 NBA Finals since 2020? Gilligan, 76ers now, with Philly's biggest question mark being with Embiid, and if not, he could stay healthy enough to be the 1A on a championship team. Do you guys think it's time for Philly to prioritize young talent like Miles Bridges, Mikal Bridges, D-Mitch, over going all in on guys like Paul George and Jimmy Buckets? So we partially answered that question. Age is certainly important. I have said this about age, though. Philadelphia is not really worried about 5 years from now. Is Joel Embiid still playing basketball 5 years from now? You might still have Tyrese Maxey. I hope that you do, because he's still young and he's a superstar in his early 20s. What you're trying to do, if you're the Sixers, is win a championship in 2024-2025. That's the priority. You want to maintain that level of competitiveness, championship pedigree, over the next 2 to 3 years. So if you get a LeBron, you get a Paul George, a Jimmy Butler, that fits the timeline of the next 2 years. That's all that I'm worried about. And then some people will say, well, that sucks, then we're screwed after that. No, because you might not be paying Joel Embiid. You might not be paying that older player. Then once again, you're in a scenario like you are right now with the most cap space in the entire NBA. So it's kind of that blend. It's kind of that combination here of what do you want to do? What types of players do you want to go after? But also, what's the compensation, which plays a big role in this conversation too.
And I understand the sentiment of a lot of Sixers fans, like, we don't want to get older, sign these guys who you're going to have to pay as they age. You know, I'd rather pay someone who's young, up and coming, is continuing to get better, also will cost a lot of money, but someone who could be around for the long term. But, you know, Chase, as you said, it's already been reported Daryl Morey is completely focused on this season and this season alone. I think when you have a player like Joel Embiid, who, yes, has struggled to stay healthy when it matters the most, but I think when you have an MVP caliber talent who, because of those injuries, who knows how long he plays, you have to capitalize, in my opinion, while he's still in his prime. And look, I think you go out and get whoever the best player available is, whether that player is younger, whether that player is older. I think the determining factor should be who helps us the most this season and over the next couple of years to win a championship. And that's what Daryl Morey is going to have to decide. And again, in the future, you still have some picks in the future from the Clippers as well. So in a disaster scenario, you go all in this next year or two, doesn't work out, you got to reformulate the team. You know, you have some valuable picks. That 2028 Clippers pick, that could be, a top 5 pick in the draft. Who knows what the Clippers are going to look like? So you're not completely devoid of future assets. That's why I think I would prioritize just talent and winning now, which might be in the realm of getting older, more established veteran players.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because, again, the goal is to win a championship, man. You don't need to rebuild right now. You're in a great spot, maybe the best spot of any team in the NBA because of the pieces that you have and the ability that you have to add other pieces to this team. got to go all in right now. Should Philly prioritize young talent or established veterans? Now, young talent like Mikal Bridges, count me in. Y for young talent, V for veterans. Once again, you can share your opinions down in the comment section because this channel is for all of you. This Tyrese Maxey shirt is dope, and I know that a lot of these shirts that have that print, kind of like what we saw a lot in the 90s, the early 2000s, that vintage print, the 80s even, these shirts have taken off, and you can get yours today because that type of style is returned. And Tyrese Maxey's a baller. He got snubbed. No All-NBA team. Come on now. Chatsports.com/Maxey shirt. One of the best athletes in Philadelphia right now. Arguably the best player on the Sixers. Chatsports.com/Maxey shirt. JRA9163. What role player should Daryl Morey need to focus on adding to this roster? A lot of intriguing ones here. Some of the free agent targets who are realistic and fit that role player category: Malik Monk, Andre Drummond, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Obi Toppin, Malik Beasley, Royce O'Neal, Gary Trent Jr., Derrick Jones Jr. The free agent that I like the most and I think could help Philadelphia out a lot is Malik Monk. Flamethrower off the bench, scores at all three levels. You need a bucket in a high leverage spot. He could certainly give that to you, but I'm not willing to overpay for a player like that. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a player who can get it done on both ends. Veteran, has won a championship, can space the floor. He's a good athlete. Obi Toppin, if you want some athleticism, but he has such a high-low nature to his game that you don't know what you're going to get night in, night out. So a couple of different options there. We appreciate the question. Andrew, any chance Maxey signs somewhere else? Now, are you asking us that question because you are a New York Knicks fan? Because I see the profile picture here is the New York Knicks logo. Are you trying to get me annoyed? Are you trying to get me angry? Are you trying to get my emotions ratcheted up? Because it's just not going to happen. Nor is Tyrese Maxey going to go anywhere else. He is a restricted free agent. He was an all-star this past year. In the first-round series was his coming out party for everybody nationally, but the non-casuals know that since he came into the league, he's gotten better and he's progressed every single year. And if you watch this show, which launched in the summer of 2021, I've been saying for a long time, Tyrese Maxey's legit. He has star potential. He could be the Jamal Murray to the Nikola Jokic for Joel Embiid. And that's exactly what has happened. Why would the Sixers let him go anywhere? This is a franchise cornerstone who, as I said jokingly during the Tyrese Maxey shirt read, might be the best player on the Philadelphia 76ers. You still might give that edge to Joel Embiid because even when he's playing poorly, he's never a zero on the defensive end. Always gets it done there. But the point here being, Maxey is special, and he's going to land a massive deal. Here's the contract projection where in 2024, 2025, gets a pay raise, man, up to $35.5 million. 2025, 2026, 38.3. Year after that, 41.1. Then the escalators to 44 and 46.8. That's a 5-year, $205.9 million extension for Maxey. Knicks fans wish Tyrese Maxey would go there, but he's ours. Make sure you give us a follow on X, at Chase_Senior for me, at Jake Chipper for him. This is Philadelphia 76ers now. Have a fun, jammed, and safe weekend, and we'll catch you soon here on the show. Peace.